Hey guys, welcome to another episode of From Screen to Shelf. This is Gabe and Chase, and we are doing another segment of I'll Watch This If You Watch That. We kind of kickstarted this segment, I think it was last week or a week and a half ago, where we
Yep.
did Tokyo Gore Police. Chase had me watch Tokyo Gore Police, and I had him watch Inception. So we got a lot of feedback from the Reddit and Discord where people were like, yeah, do more of that because it's just kind
Yeah.
of like a funny little segment. So we were kind of brainstorming some movies to kind of throw into the second segment. And one of my favorite movies of all time, guys, this is like one that's in my top five. So I may be super sensitive depending on how Chase reacts to this movie. No Country for Old Men, directed by the Coen brothers. This is pretty much in one of my top five favorite movies of all time. It's a movie
Yeah.
that I'm very fond of. I'm very close to. It resonates to me a lot. So I had him watch that one. And then what did you have me watch, Chase?
I had you watch Jodorowsky's Santa Sangre, one of my favorite directors, and I consider that movie kind of how you regard No Country for Old Men. I do genuinely believe that Santa Sangre is nearly a masterpiece in just
Oh.
cinematic storytelling, and it's so bizarre, it's so weird, and I wanted to give you something that wasn't just something that actually you could feel a direction in it.
Hmm. Yeah. Because Tokyo Gore Police was just
Just
thrills.
nonsensical. Yeah.
Yeah, nonsense
Thrills
thrills.
and kills. Yeah.
So
So, yeah,
who
you start off. Yeah, you start
Okay.
off.
So, and just to let you guys know before we talk about these movies, there are gonna be spoilers. I mean, these movies
Yes.
are Santa Sangre, what year did that come out?
I wanna say 80 some a little bit after Holy Mountain, which I don't know if you've ever seen, Holy Mountain.
No.
89. Okay, yeah, so I was
89.
right.
So, yeah, the
Yeah.
89 for Santa Sangre, and I think, 2007 or so for No Country for Old Men. So,
Yeah.
Santa Sangre, we're gonna be talking about spoilers, just to let you guys know, so just to be,
Yep.
aware of that. Santa Sangre,
So stoked
um,
to hear your thoughts.
let me say this, I liked it a lot more than Tokyo Gore Police.
Yeah.
Um There are things I really actually liked about it a lot, but there
Yeah.
are some things that also took me away from it. So, let me
Yeah.
like the pros. So, the cinematography in this movie is, like, fantastic.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, like, this is,
Jodorowsky,
like,
man.
really freaking incredible cinematography. Some of the shots,
Yeah.
I was like, "This is freaking,
Yeah,
like,
great.
next
Yeah.
level." Yeah, I mean, like, the
Yeah.
shot with, like, the elephant bleeding out or, like, the funeral with the elephant where they're throwing it off the cliff and all those people are kind
Yeah.
of, rummaging down the side to try to, grab the meat from the elephant. Like, there was just some really good shots.
Yeah.
A lot of, the circus performers, all that stuff. So, the cinematography in this movie is excellent. The acting in this movie is excellent. I think that a lot of
Amazing.
the I don't know who these actors are because this
Yeah.
was I was reading about it a little bit. This was like a joint, like, Mexican/Italian production?
Yes.
It takes place in Mexico though, right?
Yeah, Jodorowsky is multicultural.
Okay.
Yeah, so
So
he tends to blend a lot with his experiences.
and you can kinda see that just because I was like,
Yeah,
I do get, like, kind of like a mixed vibe of both of these kind of cultures coming together, even though it takes place in Mexico, but the way it's shot kinda reminds me of some, like, Italian films.
yeah,
Yeah, so, like, the actors are great. I don't know them because I've never seen them before, but, like, the
yeah,
actors do a phenomenal job. Um, and I think the soundtrack was actually pretty good
yeah,
too. Like,
really good. Yeah,
yeah, it has a really cool, and I'd say it's kind of like Mexican kinda cultural soundtrack to it.
yeah,
Um, so I loved all those aspects of it. The story is kind of it was kind of hit or miss for me. Like,
yeah,
sometimes, like, I think I was really engaged with the first, I wanna say the first third of the movie where he is the
yeah,
protagonist is a child, right?
yeah,
And he's in this kind of, like, circus with, like, these freaks, and just to let you know, man, this is as soon as you showed me this movie and I saw that it was a circus, I don't think I've
mhm.
ever told you this, I fucking hate the circus, dude.
Oh, really?
I hate anything that, and I'm not scared of, like, it's not, like, something to do with, like, I hate
Like a
clowns or
phobia?
anything like that.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's no phobia to it. I hate the circus. I hate,
yeah,
the thought of, like, freak performers and everyone
yeah,
gathering under a tent and, like, animals and all that I just hate
yeah,
circus. So as soon as I saw this, I was like, "Crap." I'm like, "There's a circus," and I'm like, "I hope this isn't the whole movie," but it was actually really engaging, that first portion where he's growing up as a kid.
yeah,
Um, I think where the story just kinda lost me a little bit was the middle part of the movie. Like, the middle
I can
part
see
of the
that.
movie, it's kind of like I don't know where it was going, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was kind of like you pick up when he's an adult, he's kind of in this insane asylum. He gets out with, like, I guess he hears his mom, he gets out, you know what I mean, through the window. You're also following the other character, the female kinda side protagonist, so to speak, her
Yeah.
kinda getting out of the depths of, um, the abusive mom, and they're kind of going their own ways, and I just didn't know where the movie was going. I'm like, what is this? What is the plot here? What's going
Yeah.
on? And
It
just to
gets
throw in
wonky.
here,
Yeah.
yeah, just throw in here, I will say the scene where the abusive mom is getting killed,
Yeah.
that was freaking phenomenal. The way it was shot, it looks
Was
so
great.
freaking dope. It looks
Yeah.
really, really good. Just like
Yeah.
you see that curtain hanging from the window and she's like dragging herself. There's like blood all over the curtain.
Yeah.
That looked really, really cool. I mean, that's going back
Mhm.
to the cinematography, but yeah, when I saw that scene, I was like, man, this is just really well shot. But the middle part, it's just like I'm like, this is so wonky. I don't know where it's going or what it's trying to
Yeah.
be or what the theme is. It started kinda coming together near the end when you start kind
Yeah.
of the theme of kind of like the hands, right? And
Yeah.
him kind of taking control of his mom's hands. So, like, that's where it started coming together for me, but, like, you have a whole middle, I guess, second act of the movie where I just
Yeah.
don't know what the hell's going on or what it's trying to do. It's very
Yeah.
ambiguous, but at the end, it kinda comes together when you get
It
that
does. Yeah.
reveal that,
Yeah.
he's been killing these women, but also the whole reveal too, where it's almost like a dissociative personality disorder, where it's kind of like, he's kind of been doing this on his own. And then I
Yep.
kind of just was doing some Wikipedia on this movie because I'm like, I'm like, where did the inspiration for this movie come
Yeah.
from? And I guess
Yeah.
it is like, I guess the dude or the writer did work in a psychiatric ward or something like that. The guy who
Yeah.
wrote the screenplay.
Yeah.
Um, so it kinda comes together at the end, and I do like the scene at the end where he kinda, his hands are up and he's like, now he's kind of liberated, but
Yeah.
it was just kinda hard in the middle of the movie. The best analogy I can give you is, like, I think this movie would do really well as almost like a Broadway play
No,
in a
for
way
sure.
too.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like it would do really well as a Broadway play.
Yeah.
And it kind of felt that way too, where it's like, I'm not really big into Broadway plays, but it felt like a Broadway play kind of in a very cinematic sense.
Mhm.
Um, I can see the appeal for this movie.
Yeah.
I don't hate it. I don't love it either. I'm like
Yeah.
caught in between. Like if I had to give this movie a rating, I think I was caught in between like 3 stars, like 2.5 to 3 stars. I'd probably give it a 3
Yeah.
stars just because I appreciate the cinematography so much and the way it was shot
So
so
good.
much. Yeah,
Yeah.
the cinematography is freaking incredible. And but
Yeah.
some of the middle act, some of the wonkiness and some of the weird scenes in the middle act, and, like,
Yeah.
there are times where you just, like, he lets the characters kinda linger, like, he picks up that, I don't know if it's like the muscular girl that
Yeah.
he takes
Yeah.
back, like, and they're walking back and they're drinking, and I'm like, "Man, this has taken, like, 3 minutes of them just walking down, to his mom's pad so he can kill
Yeah.
her." But it's
Yeah.
like, sometimes he sits for a long time with, like, some of these shots and some of these characters, and I'm like, "Alright, let's" kinda like
Yeah.
2001 in a way,
Yeah, I was
right?
about
Where
to
I
say,
feel like
yeah.
it's a critique that maybe some people may not agree with, but I get it from a creative decision. But when I'm watching the spaceship kind of come down and it's been like 3 minutes and I'm like, "Come on,
Yeah.
Kubrick, let's
Yeah.
let's go." That's
Yeah.
where I kinda felt in this movie. There's some
Yeah.
times in the middle act where it was like, let's keep the story pushing a little bit." I think you
Yeah.
could probably I know you see it as a masterpiece, so I know you wouldn't cut anything out of this movie.
Yeah, I see it as a damn near masterpiece for sure.
I'd probably maybe cut like 15 minutes of it, just
Yeah.
to kinda get to the story a little bit more. But I can
Yeah.
see where, the admiration is for this movie or where people would really, really enjoy this movie and see it as a masterpiece.
Yeah.
I don't think I could say that with Tokyo Gore.
For sure.
So
Yeah.
this one for sure on my end, bro, it was a lot better. I
A
think it was
lot
a
more
lot
enjoyable.
better, a lot more enjoyable.
Yeah.
It did have kind of an ambiguous narrative, but like there's a lot more like as a cinephile to appreciate with this movie. So
Yeah.
I'll give it a 3 out of 5 stars.
That's
We'll
fair.
I
I
think
can
that's
see it.
what I'll
We're
give
making
it, and
progress into the right direction.
unless you give me like a Tokyo Gore Police the sequel or
The anime.
Yeah, but this one is it's definitely not for everyone. I think that there are a lot
Yeah,
of people that watch this movie, they'll get
it's
turned off
rough.
by it. It's a
Yeah,
rough movie. It's difficult to watch sometimes, but like
yeah,
there is just a lot of you know there's a lot of stuff that you've never seen before, and it's very
yeah,
unique in that regard.
yeah,
Maybe it would warrant another viewing in the future. I don't know, but I mean,
yeah.
for now, I'll leave it maybe as like a 3 out of 5. So this was a
I
lot
think,
better than
the
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 last
first
segment. Yeah.
recommendation to give some fun facts,
Mhm.
so, like, he has what people consider to be, like, his magnum opus is a movie called The Holy Grail that you would like. Then he did El Topo or Topo, which is kind of like a little acid trip of a spaghetti western,
Mm.
but I this will get you interested. Instead of David Lynch, this guy was gonna make the Dune movie from that
Real
time.
Oh, I think I'd read about that in the Wikipedia.
Jodorowsky's Dune. Yep. There's
That
a
would have been
whole like
wonky as
two.
hell.
Yeah, yeah. Jodorowsky was gonna make Dune instead of Lynch, or it might have even been after Lynch's. They were gonna either continue it or something. But there's like a 2.5 hour documentary I remember watching way back whenever it dropped. I think Scream or
Mhm.
Shout Factory dropped it, where they went into a lot of production details about like, as it was about to go into full swing and everything, and it would have been one of the most wild things you would have seen. And then his newest movies is actually because like part of Santa Sangre is Jodorowsky was raised in a circus, as far as I'm aware, and so
Oh.
a lot of his movies have things and elements from his life. And he has a 3-part movie. The third part's about to drop, where the first one's about him as a kid, then a teenager, and then the new one's going to be about him as an adult. It's not an autobiography or
Mhm.
a biopic really, but it damn near is. It's all about his weird dude's lived a weird life, like a very unique life that needs to be journeyed. And I think you would really, really like some of his other things because this one's definitely one of his weirder things.
Mhm.
But like El Topo and Holy Mountain are what's considered to be like, I like this one. I don't remember much of Holy Mountain. El Topo, I remember being really, really good, but a lot of people consider those to be like much better. But
Mhm.
yeah, Santa Sangre, I actually blind bought this. Severin did a 4K of it. And I
Oh, okay.
remember reading about it and I was like, well, shit. This was at the time where I was buying every horror movie that was coming out. So I bought that and it was a blind buy and it was weird. And I was in the same category. I just think that the third act really, really brought it together really well.
Mhm.
Really, really well. And then it all made sense. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
I was super confused. I almost didn't like the movie at all until the third act, and then it all came together, and then I was like, "Whoa, this dude's a genius." You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I
It
was
does
like,
tie itself together really well. So,
yeah,
let me ask you this before we move on to No Country. Like, what is it about this movie, like, resonates with you? You're saying this is, like, one of your top, like,
yeah.
is it top 5, top 10 maybe, or top 20,
Oh, of
or
all time? No, just in its category.
oh,
I
just
just
in
think
its category?
it's a near masterpiece in its category for sure.
Got it.
Yeah,
What resonates
it
with you with this movie in particular?
the weirdness and it's
Mm.
unique. There's nothing else like it. You know what I mean? The cinematography, the way things are filmed, the dialogue, the scripts, the especially the starting part with the cult leaders and like the religion and stuff like that.
Mhm.
That's not a lot of subjects that you see touched on a lot. The way that it was done and the way that it was handled is
Yeah.
it's truly unique. And I will always give things bonus points for just being unique. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like in a recent podcast episode, we talked about that, where like things, formulaic, tried and true, generic. This is one of the most unique movies in its genre.
Yeah.
Which even if you could even categorize this as, it would definitely be like an acid horror movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like a
it's hard
psychedelic
to kind of
horror.
even force it into a specific genre. I mean, I know there's
It
like
almost feels like alone.
slasher elements to it, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? Almost like with the stalking and everything, but
yeah,
like it's like sometimes it's not even a horror movie. Sometimes it's like a
yeah,
drama. Sometimes it's like, almost like what you said, kind of like a journey of someone's life from like, when they were a kid to an adult. And it's so hard to kind of throw it into a genre after
yeah.
watching it.
It almost feels like an homage to Psycho. Is also why I liked it.
Yeah, you could see that in there too. Yeah.
Yeah, with the whole mother dynamic, this, that, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
But yeah, so No Country for Old Men. I know you're still I didn't even tell you
Oh,
I actually
yeah.
watched this. I didn't
Yeah,
even tell you
no,
till right. Yeah, I watched it
we're
like 2
saving
days
everything
ago.
for the reaction, man, or for the actual reaction video.
Yeah.
So, No Country for Old Men, what were your thoughts about it?
So I'll give you my thoughts as I was watching it. So I got about 20 minutes in. I was like, yeah, this is a masterpiece. I can see why Gabe. I was like, I'm gonna just go on there and say it's a masterpiece. And then I kept going and I kept going. And then I was like, yep, it's a masterpiece. Yep, I can see why this is one of Gabe's and why this is one of the most critically acclaimed movies, not of just the last 20 years, but really of all time, you know? It's highly critically acclaimed. For I didn't research anything. I for like a little bit, I thought that was Ethan Hawke, and then I had to remind myself it's Josh Brolin.
Oh, in the poster? Yeah.
Yeah, on the poster, I was like, "Oh, Ethan Hawke," so I was stoked. But yeah, it's Josh
Yeah.
Brolin. So, the only thing that got me, but I had to research it a little bit because I got a little lost. Um, the biggest thing whenever it comes to the because I had no issues with it. If you've seen the movie, you've seen the movie. I don't really need to give it like an analytical breakdown other than like the last 20 minutes and the way that it was functioning and working. Um, the biggest thing was the ending and how so much happens off screen, right?
Oh, yeah.
And so I had to kind of dissect it because as it was going through, I was paying attention, but I
Mhm.
was like, what happened to what's his name? Llewellyn. And so I was like, what the
Llewellyn?
fuck happened to him? You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Because then it just you see him walk off and I was confused. I even rewound it. And I was like, what did I miss? Because in the last part I saw was him talking to the girl trying to flag him
At the
down, talking
pool.
about yeah, going to the
Yep.
pool and being like, hey, a beer, this and that. You know, all of this. And so uh that was my only gripe. You know what I mean? It's just because I get it. I went and I wound up on a forum that was talking about like he's a symbol of a pathetic hero. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? Like, and that's how they were talking about it. How like this guy thinks he's the biggest badass, and then you know you have it's Sugar, right? Or how is
Shigor,
it?
yeah, Anton
Shigor.
Chigurh.
Yeah, Shigor. So like how he's like you can't win, you can't do this, you can't do that.
Mhm.
Um uh, like so I loved how the villain wins. I love that. You know what I mean? Like you can't escape him. He played a really great psychopath. Um and I it's just so much happened off screen and I wanted to see him get taken out. And that was my only small gripe, like minus zero point 0.1 points. You know what I mean? But I get why after I read some dissection and everything like that. Um why it happened that way. You know
Mhm.
what I'm saying? Tommy Lee, I loved his closing monologue and how it all ties in with the opening monologue and everything like that. Like, you know, the name No Country for Old Men, how he feels so helpless. He couldn't save anybody. You know, everything got away, this and that. It made sense. Um, so yeah, dude, it really is a genuine masterpiece. I'd have to give it 9.9 out of 10. You know what
Just
I
out of
mean?
the Josh Brolin part?
Just out of that.
Hey,
That's
bro,
it.
I'll
I
take
needed
that.
it. I just needed it. That's my only fucking complaint, man. Like otherwise, everything the entire time I was like, "Yep, I can see why Gabe loved this movie. I can see why. Yep, I can see." So like the entire time, it
Just to let you know, and you probably maybe saw this when you were reading online about it, like the novel. So Cormac McCarthy wrote the novel, which is also freaking incredible if you want to read a book. Cormac McCarthy, man, the way he writes, it's very. I don't know. Have you ever read a Cormac McCarthy novel by any chance?
no, I haven't.
So he writes, dude. It's really weird when you read one of his books. It's like there'll be runoff sentences. There'll be like sentence going on with no punctuation for like a whole paragraph, and you're like, what? It's really weird. It almost reads like a screenplay when you're reading it. And in the book, it was the same way. It was like just you're following Llewellyn the whole time, and then all of a sudden he's dead, and you don't get any action of it. You don't get any description of it. It's just all of a sudden next chapter a Sheriff Bell finds him and he's dead. And it's
Mm,
they really did a good job. They pretty much like stayed like 99.9% accurate to the book, like beat for beat. Like literally
yeah,
even some of the dialogue taken from the book is just the monologue, some of the opening monologue, the closing monologue, like all that's like just straight from the book pretty much. Like the Coen brothers, I feel like they were just going through each page and just kind of translating it to kind of a screen adaptation.
yep,
But I can see. I mean, a lot of people. That's people's biggest gripes about the movie is Llewellyn dying off screen, and then the
yeah.
ending, which a lot of people um hate. I've seen some people I've recommended this movie to, and they it just cuts to black, and they're like, They're
No,
like, "What
okay,
the
so it's
hell?"
very cliffhanger. Okay, so
Mhm.
that's one of the reasons I didn't like the Llewellyn thing because, like, whenever he was driving and he saw the 2 kids in the rearview mirror, I called that he was gonna get hit by a car. You know what I mean? I
Mm.
called that. I was like, "He's gonna get hit by a car," and then that's when Llewellyn's gonna come out and give that vengeance that he was talking about. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, because the last time that they're talking, he's at, like, that payphone right there. You know
Mhm.
what I'm saying? So, I thought he was gonna get out and just blast him, and I figured that's how it would end, and then he's gonna walk in and see the wife dead, and then everything's pretty much, you know what I mean? But no, yeah, it really is. I get it. Like up until that point, it literally just point 1 points. It is a near masterpiece. It's just it's very ambiguous, and at a point right after I finished it, I was like, I don't like movies that are ambiguous like this. But then I remembered how much I love 2001, and I
Yeah.
was like, I have no room to say that.
Or even Santa Sangre, man, like, what the hell?
Yeah, exactly, dude. Like, I like it when they're like that, but whenever so much of that happened off screen towards the end,
Mhm.
it's just harder to do. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely different. Yeah, it. I can see. I can see exactly why how do you say this? I can see exactly why it's up there. It's one of your movies, man. You know what I mean? Like it resonates with you. It's everything. Like it's near perfect. You know what I mean? Like it all made sense up until the very end, and I like when the villain wins. You know,
Yeah, and he does
it's
win.
it's
I
it's
mean, in a
different.
way too, he wins, but I mean, he wins, but in a way he also doesn't, right? Because like I like that scene with the car crash, just because like he puts these people in these situations with the coin tosses, right? And it's like this just kind of fate thing. It's like I'm gonna let fate decide what's gonna happen to you. At the end of the day, it's really him deciding, right? But it's interesting, kind of he's put these people in these situations where he's gonna let fate decides, and then out of nowhere he just gets hit by a fucking car. And that's
Yeah,
a kind of like
exactly.
this paradoxical kind of like thing of fate, you know what I mean? It's like, yeah, it affects him
Mhm.
too. And it's just I want to ask you real quick about because one of the scenes I really wanted to get your I guess perception on was the coin toss scene at the gas station. What do
Dude,
you
I
think about?
called exactly what that meant because then he pulls it at the end. I was like, yeah, I mean, he's doing some Two-Face type of stuff right there. You know what I mean? Like he was like, "All right, you're fate." And I mean, so like I remember the biggest thing that's always intrigued me is Javier Bardem. Like
Mhm.
he a lot of psychologists and stuff came out or like whatever the field specifying in that came out saying that it's one of the most accurate portrayals of like a psychopath.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And so, like, I could see that, like, the way that, like, he was very blank like, one of my favorite scenes was actually, like, that really, really resonated, with what he's trying to play was the part where he's trying to find out where Llewellyn went with, like, his office manager or whatever,
Mhm.
and he was like, "Where does he work?" And then she
The fat lady that
yeah, and then she answers it, he just goes, where
Yeah.
does he work?" The
Yeah.
same way, like, as if she just didn't reply,
Yeah.
and then he just leaves.
I think he says
You
it
know what
3 times, doesn't it?
3 times, yep,
Yeah.
he says it 3 times, and I that was actually one of my favorite, like, little small scenes in there.
Mhm.
So it was really, really, really well done. Really had a lot of appreciation for that. Really
Yeah.
well done.
It's just a movie that's resonated with me over time just because, and it's interesting because I watch it, like I mean, I watch it pretty frequently, but, like, it's
Mhm.
interesting as you get older, like, I start kind of feeling like a Sheriff Bell, man. It's just like, like, where is this
Yeah,
world going, you know what I mean? How do
yeah,
you even, like, fight? Like, I mean, at the end of the day, it's just kind of like, the theme of, like, how do you combat evil? You know what I mean? It's
yeah,
like, how do you win against it? And it's just a really deep movie, and it's interesting too. I mean, Llewellyn dies, and I mean the protagonist in this movie really is it's Sheriff Bell. You know what I mean?
yeah.
It's Tommy Lee Jones. Like he's really, like you said, that's why it's called No Country for Old Men, because he's just kind of contemplating his place in the world, and his place against evil, and him failing to stop
Dude,
Llewellyn from
stop
getting
it.
killed.
Yeah,
Yeah, and it's just like it's just a beautiful like intertwining of themes, man, and the way it's shot. And also this cool fun fact that a lot of people sometimes you probably noticed that there's no soundtrack in the whole movie. Like
yeah.
literally the whole movie, there is no music whatsoever, and it's literally just the dialogue and the
It's
characters,
done
and
well.
it's yeah, and the dialogue's so snappy, dude. I love a lot of the dialogue. It's one of my all-time favorites, dude. I'm glad you liked it. I'm
Yeah.
really glad that you liked it. And I'll take the 9.9 out of 10.
Yeah, it was just the ending, just because like I don't like when so much like of that happens. Like
Yeah.
that's major, man. You
Hmm.
know what I mean? That's a bit too major, but I get it. When I was reading some analysis of it, I was like, okay, if that's really the point, I can see that. I didn't gather that, but
Hmm.
after reading so many thoughts that he's supposed to play like the pathetic hero, you know, kind of like a satire on like the Billy Badass type of approach,
Hmm.
you know what I mean? And especially whenever after I didn't really think of it that way, but I mean, he's a douche. He jeopardizes like his entire wife's
Yeah.
livelihood. You know,
And she
and
goes
then what
along with
happens
it
to the
though.
mom? Yeah, exactly. She was like wants the money, this and that. And yeah, it's just different for sure. But yeah, definitely really good. Great
Yeah, I
recommendation.
didn't like it when I first saw it either. Like, actually, when I first saw it, I think I saw it when the Blu-ray came out, right when it came out, and I was just, like, torn. I was like, "Why? What the fuck just happened in this movie?"
Yeah.
And it took me, like, reading the novel and then watching it again, and then I just kinda came to this, like, appreciation for it, man, and now the more I watch it, the more I love it. It's just one of those, like, 2001. It's like I watch it, like, 100 times, and I just find something different every single time I watch it, so
Yeah.
I'm glad you liked it, dude. And
Yeah.
we're just to let you guys know, we are gonna incorporate Will into one of these episodes. It's just Will's like a freaking like deity, like Chase says.
It's
Like he's
hard to
watched
find.
like every
Yeah.
single movie, bro. It's
I
like you
found
bring up
one
a
for him
movie.
though.
Did
I
you?
found one. Yeah, Innisman. That's what he'll be watching, and we'll keep ours a secret. But he's gonna watch Innisman.
Cool. That's a good
Yeah,
one.
give him the option of Bo's Afraid or Innisman. So he
Mm.
chose
Oh yeah, he didn't
Innisman.
watch Boza. I remember he said that in the last podcast.
Yeah,
So yeah, we'll be doing more of these episodes. It seems like you guys really like the first one, and we'll try to come up with some other movies. And if you guys have movies too, maybe if you comment down below, if you guys have some movies that
throw
you
some.
want us to
Yeah,
kind of like do verses of, you know, this was Santa Sangre and No Country for Old Men. If you have like two that are like maybe you want us to look at or you know try to incorporate into this segment, we'll try to make it happen.
thank you guys so much for all your support. Until next time. Next time. Next time.
See you guys.